especially. You know, he likes to be on much more aggressive type of heroes. The Krull can be aggressive, but it's most often used as like that utility type jungler. Doesn't really fit his style. And Lone Delphi, while it does fit his playstyle a little bit more, it's still just something like Nova recently has been wanting to have more impact, more direct damage impact in their jungler. So Krull does get banned here this time around, largely because of the petal ban, because historically a petal ban means that a team wants to go for the Krull. So I think that's actually really smart by Hammers and maybe almost baited out that ban.
This should allow Reza to come through. There aren't any counter picks left. Rhyme, Cruel, even Petal are off
Koshka and Alpha are still there though.
Koshka is there, but I still would take Reza over, especially since you're playing into a Lyra who doesn't have a lot of early game pressure, especially combined with the Adagio weapon power. Nova could seriously go for it. On the other hand, like you said though, the Alpha has been shown as a very strong pick. However, the Kestrel pick I want to touch on very briefly. It's one of Starting's best heroes, so no matter the case, the fact that they have Starting on Kestrel, he can pull plays and make things happen in situations you wouldn't expect.
It seems like whatever he's playing, that can be the case with Starting all over. He is that kind of highlight player. We'll see whether there's anything he can pull out in this situation. Let's remember, this is going into game number 3. A lot of points on the line right here. There is 3 points for the next game victory here, and it is going to be the Reza locked in for Nova.
And now you have to wonder, is this going to be a double crystal comp, or will it be the weapon Adagio in the lane for Truth? And Hammers, I really feel like they can just grab either the Koshka or the Alpha and just really punish this Reza early on, because the Adagio isn't going to be able to offer up too much in the form of assistance in this early game either. So they could really just let Status go have a field day in Lone Delphi's jungle.
See if he's going to be able to do exactly that. Obviously, later on we will see this even up with the Reza, but Alpha coming on through. So, 2 junglers, both heavily reliant on the Aftershock, both coming into the meta because of that Aftershock. We'll see how this matchup is going to pan out. Obviously, Adagio going up into the lane as well. So, some intriguing picks coming on through, and I'm curious to see how this one will play out. Now, with this Alpha versus Reza matchup, how do we expect the jungle to go?
I mean, it's going to be fairly even until 6 hits for Alpha, because then she can play really aggressively. Reza can outduel her before that, so if Status is feeling very confident he can play aggressive, Adagio can also help because he has a very strong matchup. He can apply a lot of pressure, especially since Starting is playing really well on him last game.
All right, what are we expecting over elsewhere on the map then, especially looking towards this lane? The duel of the laners, is there a significant advantage?
It's going to depend heavily on if this is a Crystal or a weapon Adagio. And so it's really tough to predict because of the fact that we don't necessarily know which build path Truth is going to be going for.
Right, we'll see what he does end up going for in the end. It's time to get on into the game. It's time to find out who will be joining Team Solo Mid in the finals. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know on Twitter who you want to win. It's time to pass it over once again to Dowsy and the Source.
It's game 3 of this nail-biting, adrenaline-pumping series. Nova and Hammers, all tied up 1 apiece. Starting all over, continuing the weapon power Kestrel war here, wanting to get a win over it. Lone Delphi, though, on this Reza, going to be looking to try and assassinate him. And I know Lone Delphi has been putting a lot of time and effort into this Reza pick, so very excited to see him on it, see what he can do here. Currently a fight breaking out. Level 1 shenanigans. No one has level 2, and Starting all over is going very low, but Lone Delphi's all by himself. Starting all over will fall. It's first blood going over to Eco, and now Status is looking for a return kill. Delphi will go down. It's all in at this level 1 fight, as Status is looking for 2 here. Chicken slowing everyone up. It's a double kill for Chicken. He's just making everything happen on this Lyra, and Hammer's going to walk away 2-1.
You just took a level 1 team fight into an Alpha and a Lyra. Nova have got some serious confidence in their ability to just win things out, but it turns on its head. Hollywood Hammers will walk away with the 2 free kills. They'll take the middle treant. They'll gain themselves a little bit of an initial gold lead, and that's a great start for them, especially considering how much pressure the Status is going to want to put on into the jungle and keep Lone Delphi down and stop him from reaching his Aftershock before he does.
Man, what an incredible start to a 3rd matchup of just a series that's been so bloodthirsty. These teams, after each other's hearts, won't rest until the other is laying on the floor, lifeless. Currently, Nova With this Adagio, very likely to be a weapon power Adagio, as you can see the blades in Truth's inventory seem to do alright into the Kestrel of the previous game. If you look into the jungle, this Alpha into Reza is a very interesting matchup. Alpha, fairly typically really good into Reza. Reza struggles to out-duel an Alpha, 1v1, especially when you add a Lyra to the mix, it can be very difficult. So, Lone Delphi, I think he's got a hard task set ahead of him if he wants to try and snowball a lead over Status.
It's going to come down to how much pressure they put on the weapon power Kestrel, which has kind of been it's been the focal point for both teams in the last 2 games as to who can we take out most easily and who do we take out to guarantee we're going to have advantage going through the rest of the team fight. So if Lone Delphi puts constant pressure on starting all over burst through Chicken's healing, or is even able to bait some of that, and he's already starting it off.
Oh wow, look at this, stunning all over, in a bit of trouble, Lone Delphi though. Not quite able to find the assassination on this Reza just yet, but does force starting back to base, and it is going to be the wave pushed in via Truth. Chicken going to do his best to catch it, but it is just going to crash on into the turret, so a bit of CS going to be missing. However, Status wants to start up a fight. Look at this damage though coming out of Lone Delphi. Able to really just burst down Status, and that bright ball just about keeps him alive.
Yeah, unfortunately there wasn't a treant there for them to steal. They would have liked to have been able to pressure in, take away some of that jungle, but now they will get the middle treant. They'll be able to step back in there. Now Lone Delphi, he's looking for the steal, looking to put pressure on the Status. Did he steal that one away? He did.
Yeah, he wants to go further now. There is that reboot protocol for Status to keep in mind. And look at that, Chicken interfering in this 1v1. Lone Delphi takes Scout Trap damage. He is in a world of hurt. Has those troublemakers, though, off cooldown to get out alive, and that will be him surviving for the most part. Starting over solo in lane has pushed Eco out, going to have to roam away if he wants to heal on up. So that leaves Truth vulnerable under the turret, starting a lot of free damage onto that turret as well.
Yeah, item-wise, Reza's now back. He's got... No, he hasn't backed. That was Eco who was back. So Eco, a little bit closer to that fountain. Lone Delphi still needs a little bit more gold before that Aftershock. I think got close. He'll have a little bit more damage, definitely for sure. Yeah, he's going to pick up those 2 crystal power items and get himself some of that initial burst that he's going to need. He almost killed starting all over. He almost killed Status, so he's close to being able to finish off some of these key targets, but you always have to be worried about Chicken's healing coming in, and I think it'll be a little while before Truth is online enough to really help him finish the job.
In a spot now where Status has finished off his alternating current. Lone Delphi opting in to pick up a heavy prism. Alternating current, that would be a strange item for Alpha. I didn't mean Aftershock. Forgive me, Twitch chat. Overlords. Look at that. Hollywood hammers just take the turret very quickly. Lone Delphi, because he opted in to buy a heavy prism, which is, a fairly standard thing when you play Koshka, you go for that heavy prism, has meant that he has delayed that that Aftershock quite significantly for himself. He's going to have to farm a couple more rotations of the backs, and if he's sharing gold with Truth as well, it is going to mean that it's not going to be there as quickly.
It also makes the next engagement a little dangerous. Now, if they can get Eco towards his gauntlet a little bit sooner, he's a little bit further away from that. They will have that before the Arcane Passive Chicken, so they don't have to worry about getting, just instantly jumped on in the jungle, those odd angle engagements. Maybe they can find a window where that ultimate isn't in there for the captain of the side of Hollywood Hammers, or maybe they decide they're going to fight here.
Wow, Status just goes immediately in. It's going to be Never Form Detonator, but a bright ball shutting it down. Eco in a lot of trouble. Starting all over though, losing his life. It's a single kill for Truth. It's going to be Lone Delphi turning onto Status. Has already popped his passive. Lone Delphi charging on forward, waiting for that Scorcher to come offline so he can burst Status down. It just isn't there yet. Doesn't have the cooldown reduction from that Aftershock just yet, but it is a kill going over to Nova. Now Truth pushing down the turret.
Ooh. Lone Delphi also almost got hit by that one-shot, one-kill, managed to steal away the healing off that treant, so it was definitely a dangerous moment for him. The rest of the team of Nova should back away from this. They pretty much got what they wanted out of that team fight. Lone Delphi has his Aftershock now, so he's pretty much caught up to Status, and now they can feel more comfortable in taking those harder engagements.
do wonder where Lone Delphi takes that Reza next. There is a trend in North America to go Dragon's Eye after you get the aftershock for yourself so you can stack up a lot of CP. I know that Lone Delphi has been paying attention to the more European build path, which would be a Broken Myth second, so that you can just cut through any shielding that gets picked up early. It would be very interesting to see which item path Lone Delphi decides to itemize into. Is maxing his B, which you may wonder why. The cooldown reduction when you max Troublemaker the B on Reza, it's quite significant. You get those charges back off cooldown 2 seconds quicker, and once you get, you know, if you're able to build a clockwork into the build, it is a crazy cooldown though. Wow, Brightbolt shuts Lone Delphi down. That's going to be a fountain used. Gauntlet laid down. Chicken's in at status as well. Truth trying to escape as Lone Delphi tries to get onto this alpha. There's the Termination Protocol. Status just getting bursted and deleted whilst rebooting. Eco may lose his life to starting all over. And now it's a 2 versus 2. Lone Delphi has to run from starting all over, tanking up so much damage. Great portal. Puts Truth in Starting's fire. But starting all over, does he have the damage to deal with Truth? Of course he does. He's burning away, but he should be fine. One shot comes through. Lone Delphi trying to find Chicken, has the help of the Crystal Sentry. They will be able to find the kill as well. A 2 for 2 in the end. Lone Delphi now looking for starting all over. Starting all over looks like he shall get the backport off. Just about escapes Lone Delphi.
Kind of a chaotic team fight. There was really 2 stages to that. You've got the beginning stage where it looks very much like the side of Hollywood Hammers have kind of shut down Lone Delphi. They haven't given him the opportunity to put out the pressure. And then the chase gets very, very deep as Status goes a little bit too far with the Prime Directive and can't really get away. The Gauntlet was still down, and that delayed the rest of the rotation from Hollywood Hammers. So Nova, they will get out of that one by the skin of their teeth. I think I agree with you on the Reza build, maxing the B. You've more than one way to apply that passive, but you've only really got one dash. Also, you know, the dash burst damage you get off of getting the Firestarter passive onto targets, you can get that off the Netherform detonation, but you can also get it off the Scorcher. So just having more dashes up, I think overall cranks out a much higher damage output. And now Eco looking to put pressure on starting all over. The rest of the team will be rotating in. Gauntlet should be coming through soon.
Yeah, Lone Delphi now looking to try and get on top of starting all over. Oh my goodness, the damage is insane. Lone Delphi, he's been practicing this Reza and he's making it look like a shining star. Here comes a burst of the Verse of Judgment. Status put into his passive, and when you focus him down with a Reza, it's just too easy to pop the alpha when in that reboot process. Nova currently just dealing with the alpha so perfectly. They're going to be able to reward themselves with a gold miner.
Yep, that's going to give them decent amount of power spike. Also, Lone Delphi, he did pop an infusion going into that first fight that we saw. So he was cranking out a little bit more damage than normal. That was, you know, ended up being a good gold investment for them. We'll see where he goes with this build. Is that going to be? It is the Broken Myth. I think you have convinced him of the European Reza build. And he will now be outputting mass amounts of damage. There still is no shielding for starting all over, but that's going to help him do a little bit more damage to Chicken. Status doesn't have any either. So, you know, at least he has it now so that when that shield does come in, he won't have to worry about it and he can start focusing on other portions of his build.
The thing is, once everyone hits level 12 and Status and starting all over are close to it, you're going to have 50 shielding, 60 shielding roughly each. And that's when Broken Myth is effective. When you chuck any more shielding on top of that, the Broken Myth is only going to become even more effective. Starting all over looks like he may be itemizing towards armor rather than shielding. Lone Delphi is not going to really care about that. Evil Harvest would be the next item in the build. Perhaps he goes towards a Dragon's Eye if he really feels he needs to stack. It all depends on whether or not the sustain is important. This Reza build is all about sustaining in team fights and kind of playing Reza as a assassination type hero. When you max your A, you get the extra range, but that's not what Reza is about. If you wanted poke, then play CP Blackfeather or Scarf. They have fantastic poking abilities. Reza's CP ratios on Scorcher not so high. And so what Lone Delphi is wanting to do is get messy with the Reza, get in there and try and be as dirty as possible on the back line. Currently so far, starting all over has been feeling the pain of it.
Yeah, and I mean, the entire team of Nova, they feel pretty comfortable in these scrappy engagements. They don't have to be sort of the hard initial engagement. They can kind of throw down one skill, get a couple of abilities out, and then follow it up. And Status steps forward, gets punished, goes back in.
Status stunned up in the gauntlet, and he is done so. Will not get a reboot. What a fantastic gauntlet coming through from Eco. Great Glimmer Shot will trap up Lone Delphi in that active camera, but starting all over now has to be a little bit careful because Lone Delphi wants to go in. Never Form Detonator goes on in, starting all over. Goodbye, my friend. Will fall down to this Reza. Such a great pick into the Kestrel, just able to chase her down, especially when you max out B. You just have so many gap closing abilities to catch back up with the Kestrel, who in that weapon power format, very slippery with the active camo, but Lone Delphi so far so good in making sure that he deals with it.
Yeah, and Status is really being shut down. Either he goes too far in and they're able to punish him, or they're just kiting him very, very well. That gauntlet was perfect. It landed on him right before he was probably looking to activate the termination protocol. You saw how low he was getting, and they just instantly stun him up, get the easy kill. And now Truth's got double tornado trigger, has that Sora blade, that crit damage is there, that attack speed is there. So, the entire side of Nova is pretty much where they want to be item-wise. They can engage at their leisure, they can take an extended team fight, they can take a quick engagement. And meanwhile, the side of Hollywood Hammers, they're still looking for what target to really go on. Status has been diving deep onto Truth, but that's kind of a dangerous proposition. Verse of Judgment is always there to stun you out, and I'd say Eco's doing an amazing job of just protecting Truth over the course of this series.
Yeah, now that everyone is starting to consider this Reza damage, I say that Status has got double armor. This is very peculiar. This alpha itemization is meaning that Status is not really having a very much ability to tank up the Reza damage, perhaps maybe underestimating what Lone Delphi is outputting. We have hit level 12. Everyone, the two carries have both, 50 and 60 shielding apiece, I believe. Broken Myth is fully efficient at this point. If Stunning All Over is to finish that Aegis, which he has the reflex block for, and Lone Delphi is not going to even care about it. Currently looking for a Eve of Harvest for the sustain, has that energy battery in his inventory. Truth at this point is just so far ahead. Double TT and a Monic Pool with the Sora Blade. He is doing so much crit damage. Eco lays down the gauntlet. Lone Delphi on the backline, starting all over. He is popped in the middle of the fight, and it's going to be Status into a gauntlet war, popped as well. It's going to be him falling, cannot survive. Lone Delphi finds his 4th kill. It's only Chicken left standing. Currently Nova just making Hammers look like mincemeat.
Yeah, and it's just the pace of the engagements coming out from Nova. Every time, Starting All Over wants to set up, he got a decent amount of poke in there. Truth had taken some damage, Lone Delphi had taken some damage, but they just instantly are able to jump on him, and this Reza is really ripping apart this weapon power Kestrel, and it feels that there just nowadays are too many ways for you to get on top of a weapon power Kestrel and just put significant pressure to the point where either the item build is coming out too slowly, or it doesn't even matter that weapon power Kestrel is kind of online with that 3 damage item spike. Like, Starting All Over does good damage, he just doesn't survive long enough to actually dish it out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the main issue that he's facing, is that Status is not really able to dissuade Lone Delphi's damage. I think perhaps they need to turn on to Lone Delphi, but when you do so, does Truth just get free reign? That's the problem, that's the issue with Chicken on Lyra, not really outputting enough healing for the team. Just doesn't seem to be working, and mind you, there's no Poison Shiv on Truth. This is just pure damage. That's huge Glimmer Shots though onto Truth. Eco able to tank up that one shot. I think Hammers just burst his Kraken now. Really invite the side of Nova to contest this. We did see Justman still a Kraken with the blood for blood. Kraken now takes 20% less damage to take, but a great Bright Bulwark will prevent Eco from doing anything there. Kraken unleashed by Hollywood Hammers. Is this the turning point?
They're looking for the opportunity. Now this might give them a little bit of time to build up some more defensive items, get what they need. We're starting all over. Oh my god, he was so close to being engaged on. Now gets the turn back damage onto Eco, but maybe a little bit, a little bit faster of a trigger pull, and that's a dead Kestrel, and the entire push is over.
Truth spotted backporting. Gets himself a weapon power infusion. Starting all over now, laying down 500 damage per crit. Look at that gauntlet, trapping up 2, starting all over, able to escape it. Lone Delphi's on the back line, starting all over, struggling. Neverform detonated, cuts him off. He has to run back towards Truth, and Truth will find the crit. It's now Status's turn to go down, and they pop him into his passive. Double kill for Truth. Incredible from Nova to just be able to execute so perfectly in those team fights, and Hollywood Hammer's not able to kite. It is going to be the Kraken finding that choke point turret. It seems they can't really stop it. Rez's downfall, you could say, would be the objective control on Kraken. Really useless at taking it.
Yeah, doesn't do a huge amount of damage on that. Maybe if you go with a Storm Crown, you can kind of get away with that, but that, you know, that doesn't really fit into this build. It doesn't really offer you anything major in these team fights, and Lone Delphi is still getting more powerful. Has now finished the Eve of Harvest. Does he even need an extra defensive item? Does he need to go into something with some shield, or does he just pick up more damage and, you know, help them kind of close out these kills? Because we see, you know, 1 or 2 combos off of the Troublemaker that pretty much drops Starling all over to about half health on his own. Lands the Netherform detonation, gets up 1 or 2 more combos. It's about, you know, maybe 3-4 seconds that you need to be able to actually take Starting all over's health bar out of the equation, and Truth isn't even there to do damage. Imagine if Truth is actually in position, you know, to make, you know, add in some of that additional damage.
Oh, no. Starting all over. Gets engaged upon Truth, though struggling to escape. Walks into the gauntlet wall. Status is trapped inside it. It is Lone Delphi trying to deal with Starting all over. Status able to just take down Truth. This could be Nova losing a team fight here as Lone Delphi dives into a camo. Starting all over with another kill. Looking for Eco. They've done it. Hollywood Hammers, they will find the ace. 2 kills for Status, 1 for Starting all over. And that might just be the game after a dominating series from Nova. Dominating team fights the entire time along. Hollywood Hammers, 1 Kraken, 1 team fight win. They're challenging it all. This Vein Crystal turret will fall. The second one's going to go very low. It is 5 seconds on Truth, 9 on Lone Delphi. Can Truth do anything is the question. I don't think he can. Vein Crystal dropping low, and the game, the series, will go to Hammers.
The war is won by Starting all over. Where was that Kestrel play all game? Where was that Kestrel play game 1? How did he manage to finally start to get in the rhythm of kiting in and out of the bush, of getting off of those active camos? That was exactly what Hollywood Hammers needed to be able to take the game. And Lone Delphi, he got so close to killing Starting all over